Welcome to the Pickleball Recovery Podcast, where we highlight products and practices to help you feel better faster, so you can spend less time stiff, sore, and injured, and more time on the court doing what you love. This podcast is sponsored by AlloMD. Don't just mask pain, eliminate it. AlloMD provides intense relief and advances continual repair for both acute injuries and chronic pain. All-natural, patented technology developed by doctors to get you back in the game fast without the use of opioids, steroids, or NSAIDs. AlloMD, harnessing the power of pure natural ingredients that provide deep, penetrating repair. Patented, validated, natural. Learn more at www.allomd.com and make sure to use the discount code PBR at checkout to save $5 off your order. So let's see, anything else to touch base on before we jump in? One is that I'm excited to announce a partnership with Pickleball, the app. If you've not used that app before, it is a phenomenal app. It does all kinds of wonderful things in it. What I like using it for is the court finder. The map is so robust, like you can go anywhere in the United States, probably elsewhere, but I haven't checked, but I know in the United States because I've used it. And you can find courts on their map screen, and it's incredibly detailed, gives you all the details on those courts, whether they're dedicated temp nets, whether they have lights, whether they don't. There are some really good instructional videos on there as well. And then there's a looking to play feature where there's people who are looking to plug in. So if you're going somewhere or you're just new and you're looking for people to play with, you can find them in the app. And so it's really robust, very laid out, very well laid out. My friend Blake Renaud has been working on this so hard. It's really, really awesome. So go check it out. It's totally free. So great resource for you. Pickleball, the app. All right, so let's get into it. Let's sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and I will see you on the other side. Michael Roviello, welcome back to Pickleball Recovery. Great to have you back.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's great. So, I'm going to just cut to the chase, everybody. We're in the same place we were the first,
We're wearing the same thing.
We're wearing the same stuff. This shouldn't be like, I hope I didn't fool you. It was only 2 minutes ago that we finished recording the other episode, but we knew that we wanted to do 2 episodes because Michael's spaces have so many cool modalities. We didn't want to talk about them all in one episode. So we are back to talk about light today. And if you didn't hear Michael's story of how he got to where he is today, you have to go back and check the other episode. We're not going to have him tell you his bio a second time. You're going to just have to go back and listen to it because it would be kind of inauthentic. So just go listen to the other one anyway, because you're going to want to understand about water therapy and cold therapy. But we're going to kind of jump in to talk about light because of all of the things that, one, most of us don't know. And then 2, like, you know how at the end of the last episode, we were talking about how people kind of get programmed to being kind of cold phobic?
Yes.
Well, there's just as much of that with the world of light.
In the sense of like the sun and radiation. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that it's your enemy. And somehow, we didn't survive thousands of years until we discovered sunscreen. So, you know what I'm saying? So I think we're going to do some myth busting on light. But today, what I want us to just jump right in and talk about is that there are different types of light therapy that can help the body heal and recover. And what I'd love you to do is kind of take us along that journey of the different tools that you've found to work and that you help your clients with.
You got it. Yeah, light is important. I mean,
kind of, sort of.
Everything has been, all of human history has been centered around the sun and the seasons and sunlight and growth and plants, and everything revolves around the sun. And we were always in nature and we were always in the sun, and now we're not. Now we're covered up.
Right.
Now we're in houses. Now we're in boxes. Now people hide from the sun.
Yep.
But we're also dispersed too. So, to their defense, some people kind of should, in a sense, hide from the sun.
Yes.
You know, because if you really think about it, we live in a global society. You know, we have people who genetically are from the equator.
This is a very important point.
Yeah, they come from the equator and they're living in Philadelphia and New York City and London and all that kind of stuff. And we have people from London and northern climates, you know, maybe Norwegian cultures and DNA. And they're living in Costa Rica and Panama and Ecuador and all places near the equator. And
or even SoCal or Florida.
Even SoCal and Arizona and Florida. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we are very dispersed. And I think that's wonderful in many different ways, but it does provide some concerns,
yes.
right? So, you know, the darker the skin, the more protective element you have through melanin, right? That's why people are dark. It's really just an adaptation to the sun, because if you live in areas where there's high UV radiation, you want to be dark or you want to be covered, because that stuff will poison you.
Yeah.
It will mess you up. It'll burn your skin. It'll poison you. So basically, the darker you are, kind of the more protective element you have through melanin. It's a radiation suit, because UV is a kind of an interesting spectrum of light that converts, well, it does many things, but one of the things that it's most known for is the conversion of vitamin D3, right? So vitamin D. So if you are basically very fair-skinned, you most likely come from a climate, DNA, genetically, where there's not a lot of UV radiation.
Right.
So being light-skinned is like you want as much of that UV as possible. Like your body's trying to drink every last sip of it, you know, so they could get it in.
Yep.
So that can be converted for your bone strength, for your immune system, for all kinds of things that relate to inflammation and respiratory and all kinds of stuff that vitamin D plays an important role. And vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's actually a hormone, which most people don't make that connection. So I think that's really important. And if you live near the equator, or genetically you're from the equator, your body is blocking it. It's creating like a protective element. So if you are living in a climate where there's not a lot of sunlight, like a New York or a Philadelphia, or, you know, northern part of the United States or London, well, guess what? There's a very good chance, well, I would say you're absolutely deficient.
Yeah, vitamin D deficient.
You're going to be deficient.
Yep.
Most people deficient, but if you're even darker, you're going to be deficient. So most people don't pay attention to that, and they're not like getting tested regularly. So they don't know, and they wonder why they have like these immune system issues. So I don't like to call it flu season. I like to call it low vitamin D season.
Oh,
and if you just look at it in that way, basically you'll realize that in wintertime is low vitamin D season, and that's why people get sick.
Yep.
Because vitamin D levels are low, less UV, less sunlight, all those kinds of things.
And vitamin D is also linked to mental health and wellness and depression, and low vitamin D levels can contribute towards depression. And so seasonal affective disorder, SAD, is often when people in northern climates aren't getting enough sunlight.
Exactly.
And they're suffering the consequence. And the same thing is it.
And they supplemented.
Yeah.
The Vikings were supplementing using like cod liver and stuff like that, you know, so it's not like supplementation just exists in today's Amazon, you know, society, but they were using supplementation too.
There you go.
So that's the most important thing, is to just understand how important light is.
Yep.
You'll start there.
Yep.
And then you start to see these different technologies like we have at Optimyze that are basically mimicking what the sun's capabilities are. You know, and we don't have tanning beds, so we're not doing the whole UV radiation thing. I do recommend that people get tested for vitamin D, and then they, you know, work with their doctor to get the right dosage to get them to optimal levels. I don't like you're just fell into the normal range. I like to be an optimal level.
Totally.
You know, so me personally, I like to keep my vitamin D over 50 nanograms per milliliter.
Yeah.
And every time I get tested, I'm kind of looking for that gauge. And I also saw there's an interesting correlation between vitamin D and testosterone. As your vitamin D comes up, testosterone comes up too. So that's a little bit about vitamin D and radiation and the benefits of this interesting hormone. But light therapies are gaining in popularity right now. The one we can start with is the infrared saunas.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about infrared saunas.
Yep.
People have them in their house. People have them in wellness centers. Really cool therapy. And infrared is really just spectrum of light. And basically, we feel it as heat. It's invisible. You can't see it, but it's heat. And infrared saunas, the ones we have at Optimyze, are far, near, and mid-range infrared spectrum. So they penetrate basically very deep into the tissues, and they penetrate kind of shallow. And our body is receiving this as heat. So therefore that is stress. So when you go into a sauna, imagine that you are sitting in a stress box and it causes stress. And your body's reacting and adapting to that stress. And obviously, when you first go into a sauna, it's nice and cozy and comfy. 5 minutes in, you break a sweat. 10 minutes in, it's like a little uncomfortable. 15, 20 minutes in, you're like, get me out of here, right? And that's kind of how it plays out. If you're not used to doing sauna, that can actually occur even faster. But basically, your heart rate will come up because you're stressed.
Yep.
Your nervous system is going to start to go into the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight response. There's a detoxification that occurs from that sweating. Sweating is very good for you. The heart rate increases, and that right there is very good for you too, because you're basically getting a moderate workout, like a cardiovascular exercise. Yeah. You're getting the vasodilation. We talked about that in the last episode, where everything is opening. And the reason why things open is because it's trying to allow the heat to escape, and blood starts to come to the extremities and to the surface. So you're basically moving a lot of blood. You're giving that system a workout. So, and then there's also some changes that start to occur on a cellular level, where they have these things called heat shock proteins.
Yes.
So heat shock proteins start to increase, and that kind of helps, is like a protective element, helps like with cellular aging. So that's why you'll see some marketing related to infrared sauna can help with aging and cellular aging, and there is some science to support that. So saunas are very good, traditional and infrared, both awesome. So heat is really good for us when it's done in a safe and controlled manner.
Yep.
So that's one of my favorite therapies, and something that I use every day. There was a study out of Finland, and I don't have all the details of the study, but it's very easy to find. If you just go to, search engine and type in 30-year study from Finland on saunas, it'll pop right up, and you start to read the conclusions, and the conclusions basically say the more sauna that you do, like people who literally do sauna 7 days a week, are less likely to die from all-cause mortality. Yep. So there's a direct correlation with all-cause mortality and sauna bathing. It's kind of the term that they use, and this was done out of Finland, where Finland is it's really common to do sauna in Finland. It's just part of the culture.
Part of the culture.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I had a friend of mine had referenced that same study to me because I was interested in getting a sauna blanket. And I was like, so what's up with this sauna craze? Because it seemed like, it was kind of penetrating the space. And he was like, dude, you should see the research. It's unbelievable. And I was like, oh, wow. And he's like, and I think he threw out the number 50% reduction in all-cause mortality. And it was like, bro, don't throw numbers like that at me, because I'm going to be like,
it's a big number.
That's a big number, But occasionally these are legit numbers, and it really makes that much of a difference. And it's not that hard to do. So it's like, oh, now you got my attention.
And they were using traditional saunas, or what they call Finnish saunas. So those using regular heating elements. And they were, I believe, doing 20, 25 minutes, somewhere in that range, at about 170 to 80 degrees. I forget the exact numbers, but it's obviously in the study. So those were the measures that they were using, which is the dose of stress. Yeah. Infrared saunas tend to run a little bit cooler because they are heating you out from the inside out. Yep. But there's also some theory that they work better at detoxification, because it is a frequency of light, and therefore it kind of vibrates the fat cells. And when the fat cells vibrate, they're kind of leaking that's the detoxification element, the heavy metals and things that we pick up. Yep. And remember, our skin is a really big organ. So, sweating is a good thing to kind of keep everything moving and working.
Flushing it out.
And the lymphatic system too. Yes. Which is like our sewage system.
Yes.
That's the best way I could describe it.
Another system that most of us didn't get enough vital information about the health of and the importance of.
Yeah. And we have a lot of like lymphatic cancers in our society today. We have a lot of like swelling, it's not too uncommon. Just go to Walmart and you'll see somebody in a chair getting driven around with huge, giant, water extremities. So that's like telltale sign that the lymphatic system, the sewage system is really backed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's infrared saunas.
And infrared is cool because, and you made this comment, it penetrates deep, which is important because a lot of times if you have a heating element and you heat up your skin, you feel heat on your skin, but the actual tissue beneath that skin isn't heating up, right? And ultraviolet infrared, the nice thing is that that's penetrating the skin deeper. And it's actually heating down in the tissue itself where you're trying to get the heat.
Yes.
And you're not getting fooled.
And it helps with inflammation. They say that it's penetrating the skull and helping with inflammation in the brain, which obviously is a big problem today with all kinds of dementias and Alzheimer's, and which is basically inflammatory issues of the brain. They build up these plaques, and the plaques basically mess with the electrical messaging component and all that kind of stuff, and messes with your motor skills, memory, all kinds of stuff. So so once again, it goes back to the episode that we just did, which is like keeping inflammation down, keeping inflammation at bay. Saunas, infrared saunas can both be really good tools that are natural, easy to use, cost-effective ways to be proactive about your health and be kind of on the offensive side.
Yeah, nice. So how does the infrared sauna compare or contrast to red light therapy, where you see the sauna lamps? Sure. Talk about the difference.
Yeah,
or
just
the similarities.
different spectrum. So most of your traditional red light therapy units that you can find out there, we use a company called Mitolight. They're out of Scottsdale. Great guy, a great company, great guy who founded the company. And basically, a lot of these panels are going to have red light and also near infrared. So basically, you're standing in front of the panels and you're feeling the heat. So there's like a slight heat that's coming off of it, and nothing too crazy. It's not like a sauna, but you feel the heat. And then there's a spectrum of red light. And for whatever reason, our mitochondria like this frequency. And this spectrum of red light doesn't penetrate very deep. It kind of goes just millimeters into our skin tissue. And the skin cells absorb that. And basically, they're able to convert that in a kind of a difficult scientific process to explain. It's like the Krebs cycle.
The Krebs cycle. Let's not talk about the Krebs cycle.
Yeah, and they convert that light in combination with nutrients and oxygen into ATP.
Gotcha.
So it goes back to what we were talking about with the water therapies. It's all about keeping the mitochondria healthy. So if you can keep mitochondria healthy as they decline over age, naturally, if you can keep them healthy, they'll produce adequate amounts of energy. So the skincare kind of industry really likes the red light therapy, although it does compete with them too, because essentially if your skin cells are producing adequate amounts of energy and they're healthier like a young person, that's why young people have this vibrant skin compared to, say, older people, they can produce more collagen. And collagen production is necessary not just for looking good, but just for bone strength and cartilage and all the things that are really necessary.
Yep.
So red light therapy works really good with skin health, really good with scarring, really good with cellular energy, which is good for overall energy, good for recovery, good for inflammation, penetrates deep into the skull, so can help with brain inflammation. There's even some studies out there that can improve eyesight because there's tons of mitochondria in your eyeballs, so it goes through your eyelids. You don't stare into the light, but it can go through your eyelids.
Yep.
So there's just basically our body likes a spectrum of light. And if you think about it, the red light therapy looks more amber than it does red. And when the sun is coming up in the morning, when the sun is going down, what does it look? Very amber.
Yeah.
And if you think about our ancestors, once again, always going back to nature, we were always in nature. We were receiving that light. Bodies were receiving that frequency. But it even goes deeper because, light is information to our cells. It tells our cells what to do. So our cells are always looking for that information. That's why you lock somebody in a dark room for a long time, even though you might be giving them food and, and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to be too healthy when they get out. So our body needs light. Yeah. We're designed that way.
Yeah. I notice I have a red light, I don't know what to call it, lamp. But it's bigger than a lamp. It's a panel. And what I've noticed in the winter, my knees and my Achilles get, let's just call them junky. It's almost like gummy, like they're stiff, brittle, like the lubrication just doesn't, like, they don't work optimally. Right?
Sure.
And I'll start the day with my lamp in front of my knees, 5 minutes on the front, 5 minutes on the back, maybe 8 minutes on my Achilles. And then what I notice, it's almost like the viscosity of my joints, like instantly, like I walk away and I walk down the stairs better than I did before I got in front of the lamps. And then they just function better for when I go do my workout or when I go out onto the court. Because a lot of times I'm playing early before work. So probably like a 7 a.m. session, and
nice.
I need my knees to work.
Sure.
And my body likes hot weather. It doesn't like to play when it's like 50 or 60 degrees. It's just suboptimal for my body. And, but I don't know why or how, but just seems to get everything lubed up and moving smoothly. And whether that's because it's heating up whatever is in there.
Circulation.
It's probably just, whatever the fluids are in there, there's more energy in there now and it's just moving better. But it's been and I got mine for my concussion. That was, again, on my concussion repair journey. That was where I was introduced to red light, and I got it originally to use along with the mat. And then I found that it was having all these other kind of orthopedic benefits. And I was like, we're going to use you all over the place now, So
nice.
Yeah.
Happy cells, happy life.
Indeed.
Right? Don't they say happy wife, happy life?
They do.
But
happy
even
cells
more
too.
so, happy cells.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So we've got the infrared sauna. Yes, I said that right.
Infrared sauna.
Yep. We talked about red light.
Red light therapy we got.
What else do we got?
So at our facility, we have something really unique called the BioCharger.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, check out the BioCharger. And these guys are awesome. And they basically worked upon Nikola Tesla's work, which Nikola Tesla was working on a free energy machine. So it's a really cool experiment where you can do the BioCharger. It's this big looking giant contraption, looks like a science project, and sitting on this, big, a device, and has a little computer on it, and then you light it up and it's like all these lights go off, and if you touch it, it'll zap you, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? It's like weird science. And,
it's totally like weird science.
Yep. And if you take a light bulb out of the ceiling and you bring it towards this machine, it'll illuminate the light bulb.
Whoa.
So, now we'll get into the little science of that. So like what's happening? Well, the first thing I want to say is like your cells need voltage.
Yes.
Your cells need voltage. Like if you go back into history, always go back into ancestral kind of wisdom here. Like we were in nature, we were connected to the ground, we were picking up all the frequencies that exist in nature. And we were grounded, and there's something called electrons, and electrons come through our feet and into our body, and they assist with voltage, and they assist with inflammation and all kinds of different things. We are electrical beings. We all know that, yes, everything is physical, looks physical, but when you break it down through, physics, everything is vibrating, everything is moving, and that's just science. It's not like really, it's not even up for debate.
Nope.
So everything is moving, everything is vibration, so that's important to know. So when you really understand that concept, you'll start to look at health slightly different. You start to treat things from an energetic standpoint and not always a biological standpoint.
Right, or mechanical.
Everything is energy first.
Yep.
So it's like physics first, then biology, then chemistry.
There you go.
So it's like a chain reaction. So if you're not addressing the energy aspects of things, like you could be missing like a big piece of it. So I start to think in those terms. If you're really interested in this work, the best book I've ever read on this topic is called Healing is Voltage by Dr. Jerry Tennant. Probably one of the best books I've ever read when it comes to health. And he was a medical doctor, and he, kind of found this correlation between voltage, later on in life when he got very sick. So based upon that the body needs voltage, these guys came up with this device that gives voltage and puts voltage into the air, and you're sitting there in a safe environment. And you're basically getting a bath in this frequencies. And the frequencies can range from 5 hertz to 50,000 hertz. And 5 hertz to 50,000 hertz is a lot of numbers in there. But different frequencies are good for different things. So they have basically a lot of history. A guy named Rife developed Rife Technologies, learning about what frequencies can affect different things.
Yep.
So they have different programs that you can run, programs for anxiety, programs for sleep, programs for bone density, programs for inflammation, programs for migraines, programs for sciatica, programs for respiratory, you name it. There's about 800 or something programs that you can run. So we have about 20 or so loaded programs that we run for our members at Optimyze. And we pair that with them getting this bath in these frequencies that run for about 15 to 20 minutes with a breathing exercise, like a Wim Hof method breathing, or a kind of a calming, relaxed kind of parasympathetic breathing.
Nice.
Or we do a guided meditation.
Nice.
So it's like multiple people sitting around a campfire with this giant device in the middle, and we're doing breathing exercises together. And we're basically getting a bath in these frequencies, and that's how we roll.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the BioCharger also has light therapy, which is kind of the topic that we're talking about, photobiomodulation, which is the proper term for light therapies. And, think about a plant. A plant basically receives light and it grows, right? So it's able to convert that. Our cells are kind of doing the same thing with light.
Yep.
So inside this BioCharger, they have different gases that exist in nature. And when the energy is coming off the BioCharger, it's exciting those gases, kind of like, why is the sky blue?
Okay.
Well, that's gas. That the cosmic, energy of the sun is basically exciting those gases, and that's what's happening, right? So those apparently have effect on our cells, and they give information to our cells and mood. So it's basically you're taking all of nature and you're just like dropping it into a room and then you're turning it on.
Wow.
So it's a very interesting device that they have, that we've been using it, and we've gotten really good feedback on a variety of different ailments and stuff like that.
Super cool. And how often, again, frequency, how many times a day, or how many days per week, or how many, the
BioCharger's
use this 6 times for this condition, or, what I'm saying?
Yeah, the BioCharger is so awesome that, you can run it multiple times a day. If you had it at your house, which many people do, they might run in the morning for something like energy, and then maybe something in the afternoon for like focus, and then maybe at night for, vagal nerve stimulation or a sleep program. So you can run it multiple times. And, if you go to their website, you can learn more about it. They have some cool videos, and we also have a discount code at Optimyze if you want to get some money off too. And the BioCharger's been amazing, and it's one of the frequency kind of technologies that we have. And we also brought in PEMF too, which BioCharger does do PEMF as well. But we brought in these PEMF mats, and these PEMF mats are pretty powerful too, because you can actually tie them to specific areas. You might be having problems with your knees or your shoulders or lower back, really common today.
Yep. And just for our listeners, we are about to do an episode on PEMF next week.
Awesome.
So this is a good little teaser for that. Yeah, that's another one of the modalities out there that has been a huge benefit for me in my journey. And but the BioCharger does light and the gas and PEMF. Yeah,
PEMF, light, frequencies and harmonics, and voltage.
Those are the 4.
That was
it. Yep.
Frequencies that you're getting. You're basically getting a bath in all of it.
Really cool. Really cool. When it comes to thinking about like performance, athletic performance, I'm thinking about the different, I guess basically the more light we get, the better our cells operate, which means the faster that they repair themselves. I'm trying to kind of bring it all back to, connecting the dots for the athlete.
Like peak performance.
Yeah. Cause I know with the lamp I have, there's an app that goes with it, and it asks you, what are you using it for? Are you using it for energy? Are you using it for a pre-workout? Are you using it for post-workout?
Changing the frequency.
And it'll depend on like how close you were supposed to sit to it, and how much you're going to get, how much light are you going to get.
Cool.
And basically trying to assist in that recovery process. And again, us trying to find a way to speed this healing process up for all of us over 40 who are not willing to slow down our lifestyle, even though our bodies are starting to slow down a little.
Yeah, I mean, think about peak performance. Really, what is peak performance? You know, when you were 16, you probably had peak performance. You know, you didn't have the peak mindset.
Those were the days.
Right,
exactly.
Your mindset wasn't peak, but your body was. Your body was. You can recover fast. You can build muscle typically pretty fast. You could. You were flexible.
Yes.
Right, you had good cardiovascular. I don't know about the teenagers these days, but you know, teenagers say 30, 40, 20 years ago.
I was a teenager.
I think it's a little different. Obesity is a much bigger issue today than it was even 20 years ago. But let's just pretend that we're talking about healthy.
Yes,
right.
Which we are. So active individuals.
So you have all of that, right? So when you get older, you don't have all that anymore. So how can you get closer to that is really the question. And the way you can get closer to that is by slowing down the aging process and basically assisting it, right? With the mitochondrial function boosters, the red light, the infrared saunas. We talked about cold therapy in our last episode. All of those elements being very important. Recovery. So recovery is like, okay, how do we get rid of that lactic acid, you know, and remove that lactic acid? How do we, feed our body with the nutrients that are needed that are going to be the best type of fuel for what I'm trying to achieve, you know? How am I going to be at the ideal weight, right? If I'm carrying around extra weight, I'm not going to be as nimble. I'm not going to be as fast, depending on the sport, So there's so many different variables to what peak performance is. For pickleball, I would say you want to be quick. You want to be fast on your feet. You want to have good cardio. You don't want to run out of steam. Like, obviously you got to keep up with that pace and you got to be sharp, so all of these things that we talked about today can contribute to like decreasing brain fog, helping you to get good rest at night so that you wake up like repaired and recovered and refreshed, which is big missing. You can do all of the therapies and supplements and great nutrition. If you're not getting good rest, it's going to hinder your performance. So that's the missing element that a lot of people, don't put that much stock in. That's kind of that old mentality. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Oh yeah. No. And see our episode with Dr. Michael Bruce on tips for sleep and your sleep process, because if you don't sleep well, you're not going to play well.
Yeah. So I would say there's just a lot of variables. But what we like to do is stack all the benefits. That's why people come into Optimyze. You come in, you spend an hour, we give you a bath in the BioCharger energies, you get compression therapy, which is great for the lymph system. You get to sit in an infrared sauna for 20 minutes. We're going to coach you through the cold. After the cold, you're going to go into the hot water, back to cold, and then you're going to finish on red light. So you're getting all of that.
Love it.
To basically feel and, be your best. And all of those things exist. You can get that stuff for your home. It gets expensive. There are other clinics. We are starting to open up other centers around the country. But if you don't have any of it, one, you can find a sauna. Every traditional gym, whether it's an LA Fitness or whatever, has a sauna. You can do 20 minutes a day. And cold showers are free. And even in Southern California, I'm sure that the water's chilly, but I know eventually that will run out.
It's all relative. My blood's pretty thin living in SoCal and pretty thin from living here too. So true. All right, Michael, where do people find you online?
Awesome. The best place to find me is Instagram, Michael_Roviello, Roviello. That's where I'm most active. The name of our facility is called Optimyze, and you can find us also on Instagram at Optimyze.me, and our website is optimyze.me.
All right. Michael, thanks again for joining us on Pickleball Recovery.
Thank you for having me.
Woohoo.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks so much for listening. Do you want to know the number one mistake picklers make that leads to increased pain, soreness, stiffness, and injury? Just head over to www.pickleballrecovery.com and download my free guide to playing with less pain and more enjoyment. Listen, pickleball makes us feel young at heart, but not necessarily young in body. So go download my free guide at www.pickleballrecovery.com. See you next time.